All right, we're going to do the gas station problem on Leetcode. So they give us two things, an array of gas, which is the gas that we get at every gas station, and an array of cost, which is the amount of gas it takes to get to the next gas station. Okay, so without looking at any numbers, let's just get through the intuition of this problem. So let's just say these are all gas stations. A, B, C, D, E, F, those are gas stations. So let's say that my starting point is here. I'm going to start from A, and let's just say that I can make it to B, because whatever gas I got at A was enough to overcome the cost of getting to B. Okay, so, and let's say that after I made it to B, that I could not make it to C, that the cost here was greater than whatever gas I got at B plus any leftover gas I had from starting at A. Well, now the question becomes, if I started from A and I couldn't make it to C, does starting from B help? Like, would I be able to make it from B to C? And the answer is no, you don't even have to check this. And the reason is because, well, if the extra gas that I had left over from making it from A to B, plus the gas that I have at B, that I get from B, is not enough to overcome the cost of getting from B to C, well, then that means that I'm not going to be able to make it from B to C without the extra gas from A when I traveled from A to B. Let me just spell that out with some math or whatever. So basically what I'm saying is, if extra gas from A to B, and this could be, so when I say extra gas, I mean this could be some number that is greater or equal to 0 after traveling from A to B. So extra gas from A to B plus the gas, let's just say gas from B, or yeah, well, the gas we get from B. Let's just say that. So if the extra gas after traveling from A to B plus the gas that we get from B is less than the cost of B to C, then basically we couldn't overcome the cost of traveling from B to C. Well, this must also hold true. Let me just copy paste this. So what I'm saying is, okay, so if the extra gas from A to B, the extra gas from A to B plus the gas we get from B is less than the cost of getting from B to C, well, if we couldn't make it, then there's no way we're going to be able to do it without the extra gas, right? If we can't do it, if we started from B, we wouldn't have that extra gas that we got from A to B. Therefore, the gas that we get from B must be less than the cost from getting from B to C. So I'm just trying to do it a little bit more mathy, I guess, but that's the idea, is that, if we couldn't do it with the extra gas, there's no way we're going to do it without it. So now moving on, let's say that I get from A to B, and then, yeah, again, I couldn't make it to C. So now what I'm going to do, since I couldn't make it to C, I'm going to set my starting point at C, because now we have to try it. We know we don't have to check B, right? Because I just went through that. So now we're going to try, okay, let's try starting from C. And let's say that we make it from C to D to E to F. We made it all the way to the end, okay? Now we're going to have some extra gas left over here. We're going to have some extra gas from C to F. And when I say extra gas, again, this is some number that is greater or equal to 0. So this could be no gas or some extra gas from C to F. And now the question becomes, do I have to check, once I get from C to F, once I get to F, do I have to check if I can get from F to A and then to B and then to C? Basically, do I have to do that full round trip? Or like another iteration or whatever? And the answer is no. I have enough information once I reach F. And the reason is because you can just check if the extra gas that I have left over after traveling from C to F is greater than the deficit that I encountered when I was traveling from A to C. So let's just put a big fat D there for deficit. So if this extra gas from C to F is greater than this deficit, or greater or equal to that deficit, then we're good. That means we can make a full round trip because we'll be able to overcome those deficits that we encounter. And just to go through one more quick example, to really hone this in. So let's just say I made it from A to B and I could not make it to C. So we're going to mark this as a deficit. I cannot make it from B to C when I started from A, which means I can't make it from B to C, right? Because I went through that. Well, let's just say that I could not make it from, no, so I'm going to start from here now. Let's say I can't make it from C to D. If I can't make it from C to D, this is another deficit that I encountered. And now I'm going to start from D. Let's mark our starting point. Now let's say that I can make it from D to E all the way to F. Now what I'm going to check is is the extra gas that I have left over after traveling from D to F, can it overcome these deficits that I encountered? And if it can overcome those deficits, or if it's greater or equal to those deficits, then I'm good. We can make a full round trip. We don't even have to check. So like basically if let's say this extra gas was, say it was 10, and from E to F, let's just say it equals 10. Okay, let's say that the extra gas from E to F is 10, and let's just say that this is a negative, all right, so let's say we say this is like a -2 and a -8 here. Then as long as this is greater or equal, well, okay, like I guess if this plus the deficits comes out to something greater or equal to 0, that means we have enough fuel to get past these deficits and make a round trip. Okay, so and I'll just put a little plus sign there just to make that super clear that it's the sum of the deficits we encountered. And these two deficits, what this actually represents is the sum of, or we could say it's the fuel of A, B, C, D minus the cost of A to B, or we could say it's the cost from A to D. Yeah. Wait, is that right? No. Sorry, it's the fuel at A, the fuel at B, and the fuel at C. And this would be the cost from, A to B, the cost from B to C, and the cost from C to D. So if you summed up all the costs from A to B, B to C, C to D, and you subtracted it from the fuel that we get from A, B, and C, that would be the sum of these deficits. Okay, so hopefully I've gone through enough math and intuition for you to solve this. Oh, I guess I should mention one last thing. Okay, so I've seen one other way that I've seen people able to, let me delete some of this to make this clean this up because it's getting a little out of hand. So let me clean this up. Another way I've seen people check if we have enough, like let's say we made it from D to F and we want to know if we can make a full round trip from F to A to B to C all the way back to D, is they check if the total sum of the costs, if the sum of the fuel is greater or equal to the sum of the costs of all the costs and all the fuel. Okay, so the reason this works, so they're just checking if our total fuel is greater than our total cost or greater or equal to the total cost. That means there must exist a solution somewhere. So if we were able to make it from D to F, and our total fuel is greater than our total cost, what this implies is that the amount of extra gas we have from D to F must be greater than the deficit we encountered going from A to D. So I personally don't like this little check. I like doing it. I like explicitly checking for the deficit because I just feel like it's more explicit and clear. But this is what that implies when they check for this. But anyway, I'm just going to code this. So let's just keep going. Let's type this out. So what do we need here? We need to keep track of our current fuel that we get from every gas station while subtracting the costs. And we need to keep track of our starting point. So we're going to start at 0, right? We're going to try the first gas station. And we need to keep track of our total deficit. And that's going to be 0. Okay. Now, what we do now is loop through our gas stations. And we could do cost.length here because they're the same length, but it doesn't matter. And now we're going to say fuel plus equals. So we're going to get the gas from the current gas station, and we're going to subtract the cost to get to the next gas station. And if fuel is below 0, that means that we have a deficit here and that we can't actually make it to the next gas station. So what we're going to do is add, this is some negative number, right? Because it's less than 0. And so we have a deficit, and we want to add this to our total deficit. Total deficit plus equals the fuel. Sweet. Then we want to reset our fuel back to 0, and we want to set our starting point to I plus 1, because now we're going to start at the next gas station. So we're basically just resetting here, and then we're keeping track of what our total deficit is before that, whatever came before us. Okay. Now we just need to return if the fuel plus the total deficit. Basically, so this fuel, let me just copy paste this. So let's say I went through, I tried all this, it didn't work, and then I got here. I started at D. So if I made it all the way from D to F, what I'm checking here is if that extra fuel, after traveling from D to F, plus that negative deficit that I encountered from A to D, if it is greater or equal to 0. Because if it's basically, if the fuel is greater or equal to the deficit, then we have a valid, or we have a solution. So we can just return our starting point. We know that we can make a round trip. And otherwise it's -1. And in the case where, let's say our starting point was set all the way here. Let's say that our fuel was negative here, like from F to A. Let's say we tried starting from F, and the cost from F to A is actually a deficit, so it's negative. What'll end up happening is we'll go in here, so fuel is less than 0. The total deficit will be some negative number, right? Because we couldn't make it from F to A, so we add to our total deficit, and the fuel will be 0. So then we're going to check if 0, again, this is just this one specific case, so if 0 plus this negative number, let's say it's 5, is greater or equal to 0, and this will be false, which means we'll return -1. I just wanted to go over what happens in that one little case where we reach the end and it wasn't a valid starting point. Okay, so we're going to run this, make sure it worked, I didn't make any mistakes, get rid of all this, clean this up. Why do I have an S there? Get rid of that. Cool, let's submit it. All right, cool. So hopefully that makes the problem more clear. And this is O of N, obviously. But anyway, if it helped you, give it a thumbs up, and you can subscribe if you want. All right, bye.